Welcome to Episode 3 in the Accident Theory series. In our last episode, we explored how the terms accident and incident are often used interchangeably in the field of occupational health and safety. We discussed that an incident is best described as a sequence of events leading to an outcome that is unplanned, undesirable, and unforeseen by the individuals involved. While the term random is sometimes used to describe an incident, we clarified that randomness does not dictate whether an incident will occur, but rather when it will occur. In today's episode, we will look at what defines an injury, as well as look how injury prevention affects accident theory. We will also look at how scale and context affect incidents. An incident can be broadly categorized based on its severity or the level of loss involved. Near misses are incidents where no injuries occur, but there may be damage to equipment or property. On the other hand, minor, major, or catastrophic incidents involve injuries to one or more workers, or in some cases, fatalities. While all incidents result in some form of loss, many organizations focus their attention primarily on those involving injury or death. This approach is based on the rationale that machinery and products can be replaced, but human lives cannot. However, this perspective has a critical flaw. Many near-miss incidents stem from equipment defects or a lack of maintenance. Since near misses often go unreported or uninvestigated, largely because many organizations lack standardized methods for tracking and analyzing them, these hazards are not properly addressed. As a result, opportunities to identify and eliminate risks are missed, leaving dangerous conditions uncorrected. This creates a significant gap in occupational health and safety reporting, as unaddressed near misses may escalate into incidents that cause injuries or fatalities. Addressing near misses is essential for preventing future incidents and closing this gap in workplace safety. So what exactly is a workplace injury? In its simplest form, an injury is defined as the physical harm sustained by an individual during an incident. To put it more plainly, when a person is involved in an incident and experiences some form of physical effect, they are said to have suffered an injury. This definition primarily focuses on physical injuries, such as broken bones, torn muscles, or burns, without immediately considering the emotional or psychological trauma that may also result. According to an Ontario Workplace Safety and Insurance Board 2020 report, the number one cause of injuries in the workplace are due to trips, slips, and falls. In workplace safety, injuries are often prioritized based on the severity of the incident. When an individual is injured on the job, it is standard practice to thoroughly document the extent of the injury, the treatment plan, and any permanent medical restrictions that may result from it. However, the terms injury and incident are sometimes used interchangeably in workplace discussions. Exchanging the word injury and incident is not a good example of using the right definition for the explanation. In many ways, it is a form of circular logic because in order for an injury to occur, some sort of incident must have taken place. Inversely, for an incident to be present, there has to be some sort of loss, which in this episode is an injury. This can be similar to how a young child might confuse cavities and fillings as part of the same dental experience. In order to require a filling, there needs to be a cavity present. The comparison is apt because without an incident, there can be no injury. When investigating workplace incidents, it is critical to separate the cause of the injury from the injury itself. Separating injury from incident has the same importance as separating a machine from an incident. For example, a device or tool involved in causing an injury may have played a role in the event, but is not necessarily responsible for the incident. This mirrors the philosophical statement, "Guns don't kill people, people using guns kill people." Similarly, if a worker is struck by a forklift, the focus of the investigation should not be on blaming the forklift manufacturer, but rather on examining the actions of the forklift operator and the circumstances leading to the incident. Because of the close relationship between incidents and injuries, injury data is often used as a benchmark in accident theory research. Understanding the nature of injuries and the chain of events leading to them is essential for improving workplace safety and developing effective prevention strategies. Think of a time you were completing a task and almost injured yourself in the process. Did this event occur because of an object you were using or because of how you were using the object? Share your reflection in this episode's group chat or in the comments section if you are following on social media. The primary purpose of investigating an incident is to identify the factors that contributed to its occurrence, with the ultimate goal of preventing a similar event from happening in the future. By addressing the factors that lead to an incident, injuries or other negative outcomes that would have resulted from it can also be prevented. For this reason, thorough and methodical research into the root causes of an incident is essential. Simply attributing an incident to a vague chain of events or labeling it as an accident risks fostering a mindset of fatalism, where further investigation is deemed unnecessary because the event is seen as inevitable. However, as discussed previously, the definition of an accident does not imply that something is unpreventable or unavoidable. It simply means that the event was unforeseen or, in legal terms, unintentional. There is often greater urgency to take corrective action after incidents involving injury or death compared to those causing only property damage. This focus reflects the core mission of occupational health and safety: protecting workers, not improving machines for their own sake. While safer workplaces may lead to better equipment or processes as a byproduct, machines are indifferent to protective measures. Unfortunately, relying on injuries or fatalities to drive workplace improvements is a reactive approach. Proactively identifying and addressing hazards before harm occurs is far more effective and aligns with the principles of prevention and continuous improvement central to workplace safety. Let's take a step back and look at how safety features have improved to help protect ice hockey players. Here are two images of the National Hockey League Buffalo Sabres defending their net. The photo on the left is from 1972, while the photo on the right is from 2022. Although there have been some changes to the uniform they wear or the types of skates they use, the two biggest changes are the types of face and head protection for the goaltender and the players. The goaltender historically wore a face-hugging fiberglass mask, which is completely different than the full cage and helmet used today. Also, it is important to note the total absence of head protection for players back in 1972 compared to the modern protection used today. When investigating an incident, there are situations where it may be deemed unpreventable due to technical limitations, cost constraints, or the absence of feasible solutions. For preventative measures to be adopted, the contributing factors to the incident must be substantial enough to warrant intervention, while the disadvantages or challenges of implementing those measures, such as cost, practicality, or impact on operations, must be relatively minimal. Additionally, incidents that occur frequently or have a high likelihood of recurring tend to receive more focus and preventive efforts than those that are rare or unlikely. For instance, automobiles are equipped with airbags to protect passengers in collisions because car accidents are both frequent and severe, posing a significant risk to human life. Airbags provide an effective and practical solution to mitigate this risk. Conversely, it would be impractical and prohibitively expensive to install airbags on roofs to protect individuals from falls, as falls from roofs occur far less often and would not justify the extensive cost or complexity of such a measure. While it is impossible to prevent every incident, resources can be allocated to address the most significant and likely risks, ensuring the greatest overall impact on safety and risk reduction. When deciding on preventive measures, factors such as the frequency and severity of the incident, along with the potential drawbacks or disadvantages of implementing controls, must all be carefully considered. This process requires a balanced approach to determine the most practical and effective way to manage risks. For instance, a smoker might decide not to quit smoking because they perceive the risk of developing lung cancer as unavoidable and view the costs of quitting, such as withdrawal symptoms and lifestyle changes, as too high. In this case, the individual might prioritize the current enjoyment of smoking over the potential future consequences of lung cancer. While this rationale might seem unacceptable to others, it reflects a calculated decision where the individual does not believe the event, lung cancer, is entirely unpreventable, but instead weighs the perceived costs and benefits of prevention. This analogy highlights the complexity of decision-making when it comes to prevention. Organizations, like individuals, must evaluate the trade-offs involved in adopting preventive measures. While it may seem counterintuitive, acknowledging these trade-offs does not imply a belief that incidents are unavoidable. It simply reflects the realities of balancing risk, cost, and feasibility in determining the best course of action. An essential aspect of incident investigation is recognizing how personal emotions and biases can influence the perception of an event. Whether an incident is perceived as a catastrophe or a disaster is not solely determined by the scale or magnitude of what occurred. Instead, it is also shaped by the proximity of the event to the individual evaluating it and the number of people affected. This proximity can be physical, emotional, or relational, and plays a significant role in shaping perceptions. From the perspective of someone directly affected, any incident can feel like a catastrophe. This concept, often referred to as incident proximity, highlights that the closer an individual is to an event, whether physically or emotionally, the greater its perceived impact. For example, a single-family home in a distant country might register only as a passing tragedy for someone far removed from the incident. However, a large forest fire destroying an entire community will feel catastrophic even for those who do not live in the area. Similarly, the scale of the incident, such as the number of injuries or deaths, also influences how individuals interpret its severity. This relationship between proximity and scale can be visualized as a spectrum. Events that are distant, both geographically and emotionally, and involve fewer people tend to provoke less intense reactions, often manifesting as sympathy or sadness. On the other hand, events that occur closer to home or involve a greater number of casualties are more likely to be labeled as catastrophic. In addition to proximity and scale, two other factors play a significant role in how incidents are perceived: control and risk. An event often feels more catastrophic when individuals feel they lack control over the situation. For instance, a jet airplane crash is commonly perceived as more catastrophic than a car crash, even if both involve similar numbers of casualties. This is because passengers on a plane have no control over the outcome, whereas drivers assume some level of control while operating a vehicle. Risk perception also depends on whether the individuals involved voluntarily accepted the risks or were innocent bystanders. For example, a young child killed in a building collapse is often seen as a far greater tragedy than an individual who dies while free climbing a dangerous rock face. The child did not choose to be in the dangerous situation and was unaware of the risks, whereas the rock climber willingly accepted the dangers of their activity. In such cases, people tend to attribute less emotional weight to the climber's death, unless, of course, the climber was closely connected to the person assessing the incident. Proximity remains a decisive factor in such scenarios, overriding notions of risk and control. The term catastrophe also has a technical application in engineering and structural contexts when paired with the word failure, as in catastrophic failure. This term describes a situation where a structural or mechanical component fails in a sudden and extreme manner, resulting in widespread system damage. In this usage, the term catastrophic does not necessarily imply horrific loss of life or human suffering. Instead, it highlights the abrupt and severe nature of the failure. Catastrophic failures often occur when a system has no redundancy or backup mechanisms in place, resulting in a single point of failure. For example, if the wings of an airplane were to detach mid-flight, or if a dam were to collapse, releasing an uncontrollable torrent of water, these would qualify as catastrophic failures. A real-world example of a catastrophic failure occurred on November 7th, 1940, when the Tacoma Narrows Bridge in Washington, USA, collapsed into the Puget Sound. The bridge was open for less than 4 months before strong winds caused aerostatic flutter, which ultimately caused the bridge deck to collapse. This is an example of catastrophic failure, as it was the system as a whole which failed, and this failure resulted in sudden and severe damage. Incidents vary in severity, ranging from near misses to catastrophic events, with many organizations focusing on those involving injuries or fatalities. However, overlooking near misses can leave hazards unaddressed, increasing the risk of future incidents. Injuries, defined as physical harm sustained in an incident, should be distinguished from the incident itself to ensure accurate investigations. Effective injury prevention requires identifying root causes rather than accepting events as inevitable. While incidents with severe consequences often prompt immediate corrective action, a proactive approach, addressing hazards before harm occurs, is more effective. Practicality, feasibility, and frequency of recurrence influence the adoption of preventive measures, balancing risk, cost, and impact. The perception of an incident's severity is shaped by factors such as proximity, scale, control, and risk, influencing whether an event is seen as a catastrophe. Emotional and personal biases can affect how incidents are interpreted, with proximity playing a decisive role in perception. Additionally, in engineering contexts, the term catastrophic failure refers to sudden, extreme structural or mechanical breakdowns, emphasizing severity rather than human loss. By understanding these factors, incident investigations can be more objective, leading to better safety measures and risk mitigation. COHSI provides its students with a multiple-choice quiz at the end of each episode, which can be used as practice material for the content that has been covered. A free version of the quiz can be accessed by anyone following our content on social media by using the QR code shown on the screen. If you are a COHSI student, please complete the discussion board topics found throughout this unit, as well as the episode quiz. Both of these tasks can be found under their appropriate tabs in your learning portal. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to your course instructor. Thank you for watching and have a safe day.